students, how are you doing today? You are all welcome to Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. I hope you are prepared for today's lesson. In today's lesson, we will be diving into the words of verbs. But this time around, we'll be looking at the aspect of verbs that deals with time. And we are going to be looking at the present tense. Come along with me.
Eko Learners Support, a support program of the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for WAEC and NECO candidates.
The present tense. Our learning objective for today, I believe at the end of this lesson, you should be able to, number one, describe what tenses are in English language, describe the present tense, discuss the types of present tense, and give adequate examples of the present tense in English language. The question is, what are tenses? When we say tenses, verb tenses shows when an action takes place, and their actions occur when it is now, yesterday, or maybe tomorrow. And so our tenses has to do with when the action took place. The main verb tenses are the past, the present, and the future. We also have additional aspect that gives extra details such as the length of time the action occurred, which actions happened first, or whether a past action has an impact on the present. These grammatical aspects are what we call the simple tense, the perfect tense, the continuous tense, and the perfect continuous tenses. Today, we will be looking at the present tense. I'm sure many of us, we have come in contact with the present tense in the uses of speech. When you write, when you speak. When we say the present tense, what do we mean? A verb tense used for a current activity or a current state of being. That is the present tense. We are talking about a current state of being, current activity, or an activity is still in progress. Let's look at the examples on the board. For current activity, we can have something like Lisa runs home after school. Sarah is arguing with her sister. For a current state of being, we say that Toby is angry today. Alan seems confused. Now that we understand what the present tense is, let's look at the types of present tense. I'm sure some of you are surprised that our present tenses do have types. Let's look at them. So we have 4 types of present tense in the English language. The first one is the simple present tense. We have the present progressive tense. We have the present perfect tense and the present perfect progressive tense. Please note, another name for the progressive tense is also the continuous tense. So please let's take note of that. How do we use the simple present tense before we go into the examples? Number one, we use the simple present tense to describe facts and habits. Facts and habits, things we do regularly. Some of the habits that come to us or some of the habits that we exhibit. Also, we use it to describe facts. For example, if you want to talk about something that's a fact or a truth, you can only state them in the simple present tense. For example, we can only say that the capital of Nigeria is Abuja. You can't use it in the past because it's still existing. We also use it to describe scheduled events in the future. There are events that you have scheduled to happen in the future. You can also use the simple present tense for it. We use it also to tell stories or to make your listeners or readers feel more engaged with your story. Many times we know that we always write our stories in the past because their actions have occurred. But there are times for you to engage your listeners or readers, you need to use the simple present tense. Now, let's look at examples. Example number 1, I go. I go. I like chocolate. I like chocolate. The train arrives at 5 o'clock. A horse walks into a bar and the barman says, "Why the long face?" All these are examples of the simple present tense. You can give me more examples on your own by writing it down as the lesson progresses. Let's move on. The present progressive tense or the present continuous tense. When we talk about the present progressive or continuous tense, it is used for an action that is ongoing. The action has started, but it has not finished. And one of the popular ways of learning the present progressive tense is this song that says, "What am I doing? I am reading." Meaning that the action has started, but it hasn't ended yet. For example, I am going. Barney is looking for the last brochure. So all these are examples of the simple present progressive or continuous tense. Let's move to the next one, which is the present perfect tense. The present perfect tense. When we talk about the present perfect tense, we talk about actions that started in the past and still continued into the future. The action started in the past, but continued into the future. That's why we call it present perfect tense. We call it the past participle. That's another name for perfect tense. It means that action has been completed. Let's look at example. I have gone. David has worked alongside 2 of the world's finest scientists. The last one we have here is the present perfect continuous tense. When we talk about this, we talk about a tense that is used for number 1, continuous activity that began in the past and continues into the present, or a continuous activity that began in the past but not yet completed. Let's move on. Let's look at examples of the present progressive tenses. Now we want to look at them, copious examples of these tenses. Note, for you to write the present progressive or continuous tense, it is important for you to know that it will always have the formula auxiliary. We have the auxiliary am, is, or are with your present participle. Another name for present participle is also your continuous tense. That means your verb that takes ing. For example, I am playing at the moment. I am not getting any younger. My family is emigrating to Australia next June. People rarely succeed unless they have fun in what they are doing. I am not afraid of storms, for I am learning how to sail my ships. You notice that we have the auxiliary verbs in them. Then we also have the verb plus the ing, which is the present participle. I hope we have gotten that. Beautiful. Let's move to examples of simple present tense. And a point of notice for you as students. I need us to note that when we have verbs that take s, the verb is said to be in the singular form. When your verb takes s, it is in the singular form. And when your verbs do not take s, we say that they are in the plural form. For example, you notice that go become goes. Go is plural, while goes is singular. And these are very simple spelling rules for us to consider. Let's take an example of the simple present tense. Number 1, I play every Tuesday. Lola loves to read. Before I refuse to take your questions, I have an opening statement. The boy works hard to earn a living, and my family goes to France every summer. Let's look at the present perfect tense. For us to be able to use the present perfect tense, we can say it has to follow this particular format. It must have as or have. As is singular. When you use the auxiliary verb as, it is singular. And when you use the auxiliary verb have, you have the plural form. Plus your past participle. I made mention of the past participle as being the perfect tense. The perfect tense. When you are changing your verbs, the format of your verbs. So you have the present, you have the past, and you have the past participle. It is also called the perfect tense. Note, you cannot use your as, have, or had without using a perfect tense. I have seen situations where students, most especially when they write their WAEC or they are trying to answer WAEC questions, and the auxiliary as / have or had is used, and some of them will use the normal simple past tense. Some even use present tense. It is wrong. You must only use your past participle, which is your perfect tense. Let's look at some examples. Femi has played for his team before. 2. Don't take the wrong side of an argument just because your opponent has taken the right side. Number 3. Musa has been mysteriously silent on the subject of motion in physics. Number 4. If I have seen further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants. Number 5. Like all travelers, I have seen more than I remember, and remember more than I have seen. This is a famous quote from the British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli. So these are all examples of the present perfect tense. Let's go to the last one for today, which is the present perfect progressive tense or the present perfect continuous tense. I have said when you see the word progressive, it is the same as continuous. And note, it also has this same rule or format. You have has been or have been plus past participle. Note, when you use the word been, B-E-E-N, it can only go with as, have, or had. But when you have the word been, that is the B-E-I-N-G, it will go with, okay, I'm talking about this, B-E-I-N-G, we only go with is, was, are, am, and were. Let's take note of that. But when you have B-E-E-N, B-E-E-N, it will only go with as, had, and have. Okay, let's move on. So let's look at the examples from the present perfect continuous or progressive tense. Number 1, I have been playing for a year. You can see that we have as for singular, have, been for plural, then we have the present participle. Earlier on, I said whenever you hear the present participle, you are talking about the continuous tense. That is the verb plus ing. I have been playing for a year. You can see I. Whenever you use I, since it is a personal pronoun and it is always first person, it is used in the plural state, it will always take have. Fiona has not been playing well for 2 months. My grandparents have been living in the house for 50 years. Mary has been relying on a pay rise to pay her credit card bills. And finally, we have been learning since we were children how to make money, buy things and build things. The whole education system is set up to teach us how to think, not to feel. We have come to the session where we get to practice everything that we have learned today. Do we understand what the simple present tense is? The present continuous or progressive tense, the present perfect progressive tenses or present perfect continuous tense, and the simple perfect tense. I'll be back after 30 seconds to see what we have done so that I can provide the adequate answers to the questions. Okay, now that we have done the questions, let's begin to provide the right answers. This first question is taken from 1991 SSC past question, question number 35. Amen dash to school nowadays. What will be the answer? Tick tock. Amen. Yes, the answer is what? Works. Works. You remember the rule when you use the simple present tense that states that when you are using a simple or a subject, the verb also has to be singular. When the subject is singular, the verb also has to be singular. Number 2, the question is taken from UTME 1982, question 77. It's that so hard that all the cars have stopped moving. It dashed so hard that all the cars have stopped moving. What is the answer to this? Is it rains, will rain, is raining, or was raining? The answer is what? Yes, C. It is raining so hard that all the cars have stopped moving. It is raining so hard. The next one, number 3. My brother dashed studying in England for 2 years now. This is 2004 West African School Senior Certificate Examination, question number 64. My brother dashed studying in England for 2 years now. What would be the answer? Yes, the answer is what? Beautiful. So I heard something B. Correct. My brother has been studying in England for 2 years now. That is simple. We are looking at the present perfect tense. Number 4, the bicycle dashed on the wet grass for several days. Is it has been lying, has laid, is been lying, have been lying? It is taken from 1996 SSC past question, question 70. Can someone help me with that? Yes. Beautiful. The answer is what? The bicycle has been lying. Please note this particular question. I said it earlier on in the class that is cannot work with being. It will only go with being. So it has to be has been lying. Finally, question number 5. The boys dashed the bicycle. The boy dashed the bicycle. Is it as rode, as reading, or have reading? The boys. The answer is what? Is someone saying have reading? Yes, that's the correct answer. The boys have reading the bicycle. We have come to the end of today's class, and I believe that in today's journey, we've been able to learn how to use the present tense in English language. I want every one of us to go back and practice more on the use of the present tense, most especially when writing our essays, and also go through our WAEC and NECO pack to understand the uses as it has been taught in today's lesson.
Eko Learners Support, a support program of the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for WAEC and NECO candidates.
For feedbacks, questions and comments, please contact us on our social media handle, and we would love to hear from you. Have a wonderful day.